Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to change the world one starfish or one person at a time. Guys, make sure to rate, review, subscribe, share, all the things out there. That's how we get the word. I'm really excited for our guest. I just met up with Courtney. She's in Texas. I'm right now in Texas when we're recording. Not when this is going to be aired, but when this is recording, we're both in Texas. And she's into functional nutritionist. So that's really cool. We're going to really dig into that. Was a life coach, transitioned more into health in the last 15 years. Welcome to the show. I'm excited to get into your journey.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So let's just go right into the nit and grit. We were talking a little bit before. What got you into, functional as a functional nutritionist? As you said, you had 4 different illnesses that they said was forever. Let's touch a little bit about what do you think caused those illnesses? And what was your mindset when you were told, hey, this is just going to be your life? Let's go into some of that deep dive back into the past.
Yeah, thanks for asking. So I'm an athlete and I was very fit. I had dealt with some weight gain and loss issues, food issues, but I was healthy and vibrant and running a business, and I started to get sick. And one day I could run 8 miles and the next day I couldn't walk up the stairs. And my body started breaking down and it was really scary. Western medicine couldn't help me at all. Their options were medication. When that didn't work, they offered me more medication. So over the course of 4 years, I continued to get worse and worse and worse. And every time I went to the doctor, they were like, have you seen our psychiatric department? And I'm like, I'm not okay. My body is breaking down. And so it's really scary when your body is failing you and you don't know what's going on. So I went on an incessant search and spent years studying PubMed and research studies. And then I figured out what I had. And I found a couple natural practitioners who were able to help bring my body to remission. And so I was told I had 4 different conditions that were lifelong. Through my search, I was life coaching people at the time, and somebody would have rheumatoid arthritis. And I'm like, hey, I'm not a doctor, just try this thing, right? And they would try it and their pain would come down. So I then went to school. Once my body got to remission, I went to school for functional nutrition. And what I found out is most conditions you can put into remission and or make better or reverse. That's not a medical claim. It's just from experience that I see people can come with very complex issues and or minor issues, and they don't have to have it any longer. I was blessed to train underneath the woman who helped heal my body. So I got I think she's one of the best in the world. I got 2 years training with her on really complex cases. And so now I get to give the gift to the world of health. And because I was a life coach before, I combine mindset with nutrition to help people set them free into the most amazing life they could imagine.
Wow, it's amazing. So when was this that you were you went from 8 miles to how old were you? This is quite a while ago, I'm gathering. This has been a journey.
Yeah.
And what were some of what I'm just curious for people listening too, but what were some of the diagnoses? What were some of the things that they saddled you with?
Yeah. So I was 30, maybe. 29. Yeah, I'm 42 now. I was sick for 8 years total. I had mold illness. I had SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. I had IBS, joint pain, brain fog, serious gastrointestinal issues. I had light sensitivity and sound sensitivity, so I couldn't handle light. I started to not be able to handle touch. I couldn't wear my earrings. I got severe depression, crazy anxiety, panic attacks, chronic fatigue, insomnia. Yeah.
All
lot
the
of mental
things.
health stuff, a lot of mental health stuff, and it all came from the gut. And so I'm a huge advocate for people who have mental health conditions. Um, this is not, again, medical advice, but when the body is exhibiting depression or anxiety or bipolar or schizophrenia, those are literally symptoms of the body. They are not a condition, a state in which somebody has or is stuck with. It is much like a pimple or a headache. The body is saying, I'm not okay. I'm not okay. And when you bring the body into balance, then the brain can function well.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. So what do you think caused the breakdown? Have you figured that out? I'm just curious. So and this is interesting. I know you don't know much of my story, but I was diagnosed with MS in 2019.
Okay.
So this is really cool that we're going into this stuff.
Uh-huh.
And when I was diagnosed, I realized that for me, this is why I asked the question, I brought it on myself. 100% brought it on, through stress, through all the things. And like I can really attribute it to that. So I'm curious if there was any that you ever went through that where you're like, this is why, first of all, these came into my life. But then also, like, obviously, we're going to get into what you did to get them out. But did you have any reason that you thought they came in?
Yeah, a handful of things. At that time, I was going through the perfect storm. And so my perfect storm was I was going through a divorce. I was marathon training, which was extremely intense on the body, and I moved in a home with mold. And so the three of those stressors knocked my body out. But prior to that, I had been over drinking and I ended up getting sober. So the alcohol had been hard on my microbiome. When I was younger, I had acne and a lot of issues. I was put on Accutane multiple times. Um, I grew up with chronic stress in my childhood. And so my body had just been through a lot of stress. Like I look back at all of the things that had sort of primed my body for this perfect storm. And yeah. And if anybody's going through anything right now, what I can tell them is that when you make it to the other side, number one, it's totally possible. And number two, all of the hardship I've ever gone through has been such a gift. Like, I would never wish what I went through on anybody, but when you rise and walk through it, the other side, like, life is so beautiful. Regular days are amazing because I get to be active and be in my body and am healthy. Um, Disordered eating was a huge part of my past. Like, I gained and lost the same 70 pounds 5 or 6 times. And so I help people off the yo-yo health cycle. That's a huge thing. Like, anyway, if anybody's hurting with their body, whether it's mental health or physical health or eating issues, or they just can't stick to a workout plan, it like that does not have to be your story. I don't care how many times you have tried. Because I failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and failed and would like miss the mark a million times. And I just got up and I got up and I got up. And yeah, I also hired a lot of really great coaches and natural practitioners and people who saved my life. I wouldn't be living. And so, yeah.
Wow. So, what are some things that you did to start to, I guess, go into remission and then go through some of this stuff? What are some of the things that you see people, let's just go and wait first of all, because that's a common one. So what changed the yo-yo? Because I hear people talking about that all the time where they're like, and I see it all the time where they're like, they lost the weight, they get it back, they do 75 hard, and then
Yeah.
whatever. It just goes back and forth. What was
Yeah.
a difference maker to you that, had now helped you keep the weight off, period?
Yeah. So this is my superpower. If you were to ask me, like, what is one superpower? So, like, I have had clients with alopecia, autoimmune alopecia. They don't have any hair. Specialists tell them it's incurable. They can never get their hair back. I have a guy with his hair growing. I mean, it took a
Oh my
year, but
gosh,
it's
that's so cool.
amazing. People with rheumatoid arthritis who are on the highest dose immunosuppressants have are walking around and going back into their labs. Like those things are amazing. So those seem miraculous. My superpower is getting people off the yo-yo health cycle, because that's where I think my hugest pain point was. I really believe that I was meant to go through that so that I could help others. Um,
That's Ed's thing.
yeah.
Your pain becomes your testimony, or however he says that. He says it way better than that, but yeah.
Yeah, so two different things help me stay steady. And the first is I was never on a diet actually meant for my body. So I
Mm.
would go on a diet plan because my friend did it, or because this book said to do it, or because I was trying to lose weight fast, or I thought it was healthy, but it wasn't actually a diet meant for my body and my conditions. And so I was always still craving things. I would be like white knuckling it, right? Because I could like follow a plan for 60 days and then it would all blow up. Um, so because I still had dysbiosis in my gut, because I was still craving and I had blood sugar issues, but I had no idea I had these things, right? I'm like, I'm following this. Like, why do I keep failing, right? But I didn't know that like once your body is on a diet meant for your body, you're satiated. You're not like looking for these foods. So the first was getting myself on going through the functional nutrition and learning how to get myself on a diet that worked for my body so I was always craving stuff. And the other thing is I use neuroplasticity and neural rewiring to build new neural networks so that I learn to show up for myself over and over and over again. I have a set of tools that I use that has literally changed my brain. And so I used to lose all the weight and I would end up super little and like ripped. And I always felt like I was on thin ice. Like, when's the shoe gonna drop that I gain the weight? And then inevitably I'd put 50 pounds back on. And when I did it this time, I knew it was different and I was never going back. And so I had surgery, I got my skin cut off. And there's a solidness when you change who you are from the outside. So if anybody's just like hurting and they're tired of their body and they're tired of starting like over and over and over, it's not the next diet plan. That's part of it, but you have to go in here and work on here and here. And when you get these components and then you have tools, structure to follow, you can be set free for the rest of your life. And I didn't think it was possible, but it is so possible. And now I have a tribe of babes that are all free too.
So guys, what she was saying is get your head and your heart into it. That's you. If you're listening, if you're not on YouTube, get your head and your heart into it. That's the most important thing. So that goes into a little bit of weight loss. Now into nutrition. What are some things that people, let's just be like someone like me with an autoimmune disorder. What are some things that people are doing that they shouldn't be doing, or things that they should be doing that they aren't doing that you see?
Yeah. Um, Well, I just want to go back to the last thing. When I said I use neuroplasticity to help people off of that, what we use is neuroplasticity to build neural networks where when they say they're going to do something, they follow through no matter what. And
Mm,
most people want to do that, but they don't have the ability to.
right.
And so we literally use brain techniques to help them learn to just show up. For the health stuff,
That's awesome.
that's complex because there are so many different issues. I can speak to you on autoimmune. Um, What happens is when most people get diagnosed with an autoimmune condition, that could even be psoriasis or eczema, right? Thyroid, MS, it could be lots of different rheumatoid arthritis, it could be
Fibromyalgia,
fibromyalgia, it could be, yeah,
lupus.
any,
Yeah, there's a lot.
mhm. Yeah. So what happens is Western medicine treats the condition. So let's just talk about thyroid. When people have a thyroid condition, if they're hypothyroid, 90% of those are autoimmune in nature. Number one, most Western medicine doesn't even run autoimmune labs to see if there's antibodies because it doesn't change their course of treatment. What they do is they prescribe T4, right? Synthroid. And the synthroid helps because the thyroid is breaking down, but nobody stops the immune response. they're not fixing what's causing the immune system to attack the thyroid. So autoimmune diseases are cascading. Once
Mhm.
somebody has one, they will continue to get more of them because nobody's actually fixing the root cause problem. So like alopecia is autoimmune in nature. His hair follicles would not grow anywhere on his body. What we did was heal and seal his gut lining. We rebuilt his entire microbiome and that we lowered the immune response. When you do that, the invade on the immune system isn't happening. And so the condition can either the symptoms can go into remission, sometimes the condition fully can go into remission. Now, once autoimmune is flipped in somebody, you can't reverse that, but you can get it into a remission state where the symptoms aren't there. And then you can protect yourself from further autoimmune diseases by fixing the root problem. And so if somebody has psoriasis or eczema or something, that is not just like, oh, I have this thing, I need cream. Like that's a big deal that your immune system is literally attacking your skin. It is the first sign that your body's like, Mayday, 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 right? And what you want to do is heal the root thing that's going on so that in 5 to 10 years, you don't have cancer. And yet they're like, oh, I was so healthy and then I just got cancer. Well, no, your immune system, you've been putting topical cream trying to fix that. That doesn't fix the solution inside, the fire that's going on inside, creating all this inflammation. Anyway, so
I love this.
what I work with is root cause healing. We look for the root cause of what is causing a condition to the best of our ability, and then we work towards bringing the body into balance.
So, what are some tangible things that people could do? Um, Definitely reach out to Courtney if you have some questions, but what are some tangible small things that people could do, whether they even had an autoimmune or they didn't, that would maybe prevent the autoimmune even happening in the first place? But if you have one, what are some things that you see people like? What are some foods that they should be eating? What are some activities they should be doing? I don't know. What are some tangible things that people could start doing or stop doing that you think are some of the biggest impacts?
Yeah, if somebody has an autoimmune condition, I highly recommend them get the book called The Gut and Physiology Syndrome. It's a blue book by Dr. Natasha Campbell McBride. The first 188 pages of that book is going to help someone understand what is actually going on to their full system. Our body's a full system, and it will kind of explain how to put most chronic conditions into remission. You typically need a practitioner, but it'll help you like wrap your head around, hey, what is actually going on with my body?
Mhm.
Basic things that are important is humans should be eating meat, vegetables, fruit, and nuts. That's it, right? The foods that are in the store are literally toxic, harmful things. Not all, but if you look at the back of a container, the amount of ingredients in it are insane. So like Heinz ketchup or like Pop-Tarts, they're made here for the United States by the same company, and then they're also made in Europe for Europe, and they're not allowed to have food dye or food coloring or any of the chemicals. And so Pop-Tarts, when it says a strawberry Pop-Tart, when they manufacture it in the United States for Europe, they put strawberry in it. And when they make it for the United States, they put artificial flavoring. There is not even strawberry in it, food
Wow.
dye, food coloring. So getting the toxins out of your environment are really important. And people think, like 80/20, I'll do the best I can, except for that food is Franken food. And it's not like if you're well now, it's not just like, oh, you're not sick. It's that your body hasn't hit a tipping point yet. And our entire environment has such a high chemical load. We want to do the best we can. Um, and so like grass-fed meats are awesome, organic foods are important, but if somebody can't afford that or that's not where they're starting, just getting on real food, and real food actually tastes so good. The next thing is fermented foods. So sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, uh, those are, so when you think about a probiotic, those have billions of bacteria. Fermented foods have trillions, right? And so keeping our microbiome robust is really important. Making sure we don't have a permeable gut will protect us from other chronic illnesses. Fixing blood sugar regulation. So dysregulated blood sugar will affect hormones. It will affect autoimmunity. It will affect heart disease. And so most people think, oh, I'm eating pretty healthy. For breakfast, I had oatmeal and berries. And then I had an apple for a snack. And for lunch, I had chicken salad with a little bit of quinoa in it. And for dinner, I had fish and half a sweet potato. And you think, oh, that sounds pretty good. But actually, what they ate was sugar, 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 right? Sugar is inflammatory and drives all chronic illness, everything from heart disease to cancer to autoimmunity, hormonal issues. Oh, another super important thing for women to know, if you have horrific menopause symptoms or PMS symptoms, those are common, not normal. They're not normal. Once the body comes into balance, you can not have to have a horrific experience with those.
Mm.
Um, other basic things are eating fish and fish oils, right? Making sure you have enough omega-3 fatty acids, because if you don't, then your body has systemic inflammation. Having high quality water is important. Stress management is important. Our human bodies need to move every day. They don't need to move 30 minutes 3 times a week. Through evolution, we moved every day. So that is super important. But majorly getting the toxins out of your environment. Oh, and then your skincare products. Getting organic, natural skincare products should be non-negotiable if somebody already has a chronic condition. But if you don't want to get one, you get natural products, because our skin is our largest detox organ and it absorbs whatever we put in it. And so if we eat a toxin through our mouth, our liver at least clears it a bit for us. If we go to Bath and Body Works and we put on lotion and we rub it on our body, those chemicals literally absorb straight into our bloodstream. Our liver can't process them. And one last thing, your antibacterial soap, the hand sanitizer, throw it out. Please throw it out. Stop using that. Or I don't know, if you're super freaked out and you have to use it somewhere, use it and then wash it off immediately when you go home. And please don't put that stuff on your children. The antibacterial soap kills 99% of bacteria. Our body is full of microbes, yeast, fungi, protozoa, worms. That ecosystem is what keeps our health healthy. And so you put this thing that kills all the microbes on your hands, you're killing the biome on your skin. We have a biome on our skin. And then you grab some almonds and you eat them. And now you're swallowing this thing that kills 99% of germs. You wipe your eye, you're killing the biome in your eye. Your kids, they're touching their face and everything. And so we want to be clean, not sterile. And so all of the things that are harming our gut affect our immunity. So 70 to 80% of our immune system is located in our gut. Most of our neurotransmitters for our brain are located in our gut. So if your brain is off, there's a guy named Dr. Chris Palmer came out with a book called Brain Energy. I'm not suggesting anybody come off medication. What I'm saying is when you bring your body into a state of balance, you may not experience the symptoms in which you're experiencing. And I've seen it over and over and over again. So our gut health is important for our entire health. Yeah.
Wow. So you must be popular last few years. It's been all about antibacterial soap and antibacterial everything. I just tell people they need to eat more dirt. So I was on the right track.
You're on the right track. I tell people, go play outside. Get dirty. Oh my gosh, let your kids be dirty.
I know.
They're
I was like, why are all these kids sick? I'm like, oh, because we used to eat dirt.
right. Because they're all sterile and
Yes,
they're
very
not
sterile.
well. The young, I mean, people, since I've been in practice, people keep getting sicker, younger and younger and
Yes,
younger. Yeah.
yes. I was just commenting on that the other day to someone. I said, it seems like we've got way more people with way more problems, way younger and way faster. Because of course I'm in the insurance industry, and so I have the payout claims for a lot of the illnesses. And so I see it. We like last year alone, I personally processed 3 claims for 3 of my clients in 1 year for critical illness. So like it's a thing. I'm like, this is crazy. So I see it on that side and I'm like, why is everyone getting sick? And this makes sense because people are so freaking sterile and I don't get it. Like my mom's always after me. So it's so funny because my mom's always after me. She's like, did you wash your hands? And I'm like, oh, right. I didn't know you're supposed to wash your, but I'm bad for that. I'm like, oh, got that one. Okay. Well, okay. I'll try. um, but anyway, that's good. I'm on the right track. Eat more dirt. On that level, what are some things that you would coach someone on that could help them? You talked about that food, like the breakfast, the lunch, the supper. I agree. I mean, that sounded pretty healthy to me. I get the sugar side. I've heard, so tell me. So I've heard that like natural sugars, some people are like no fruit at all because there's too much sugars. Some people are like fruit is good because it's natural sugars. What's the difference?
Yeah. So there's not a difference between natural sugar is sugar. Same thing, right? It's like, oh, I have an organic cigarette or I have a other kind of cigarette. Still, still a cigarette. What it is your overall sugar load that's coming in. And when you think oatmeal or quinoa or sweet potato, those convert to sugar in the body. Fruit is actually one of the things that will get you fat the fastest. So when you think of glucose, that's like table sugar, um, our whole skeletal muscle frame can process that. Let's say an average adult can hold 2,000 calories of sugar in their skeletal muscle. The liver can only hold 400 calories. Fructose, which is in fruit, mostly only gets processed by the liver. So let's say you had 2 pieces of fruit yesterday. Your liver glycogen stores are full. When you have a piece of fruit tomorrow, um, or like the day after, because your liver is already full, that will get converted straight to adipose tissue. It doesn't go to your muscle. Adipose tissue is fat, so it gets converted straight to fat. So fructose is one of the hardest things. 150 years ago, an apple had 4 grams of 4 grams of sugar. A Honeycrisp apple today in the store has between 24 and 30 grams of sugar. So you're talking one apple can have 3, 4 times as much or more sugar than what an apple had before. So it's not that somebody can't eat fruit. It is an overall how much, right? And we should be thinking low sugar fruits like berries, strawberries, blueberries, blackberries. And then fruit is a minimal thing. But if you're like, I love apples, then you can have an apple, but you probably don't want to have a sweet potato with dinner because that's a lot of sugar. So you want to think about spiking your insulin later in the day. So eating a higher protein, higher fat breakfast will keep you satiated longer. If you have breakfast and you're hungry for a snack around 10 p.m. or 10 a.m., there's blood sugar stuff going on. You either didn't eat enough at breakfast or your blood sugar's starting to dip. Because then what happens is people eat a snack at 10 and then they eat lunch. And then many Americans, probably 40 to 50%, have an energy crash around 2, 3 p.m. And they think, oh, it's because I'm so stressed at work and I'm a mom and, I'm all of these things. No, they're going hyperglycemic. When you're crashing at 2, 3 p.m. in the afternoon, you have blood sugar dysregulation. As you're crashing, you then go eat a snack, you shoot yourself up. And so all day you're on this blood sugar thing and you go and get your labs run at the doctor and they say, looks great, see you next year. but you have all these blood sugar issues, and all they ran was one glucose test, and that doesn't tell you anything. So important things to notice is, do you have a crash around 2, 3 p.m.? Do you get hangry? If you don't have food, do you get like antsy, angry, stressed? That's blood sugar dysregulation. It's not a normal state. So if you get a headache, if meals are skipped or delayed, if you're craving sweets, if you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours, that's blood sugar dysregulation. That's just straight. And then that all causes inflammation, which leads to chronic health conditions. I mean, you should be able to eat a meal and not think about food for 5 to 6 hours. If that's not happening, there's blood sugar stuff going on, or you just didn't eat enough, or you're eating non-nutritious foods. Right? When the diet culture switched and told us to eat 5 or 6 small
I was
meals
gonna
a
say
day,
about that. Yeah.
eat all day long and keep your metabolism revved. What they did is cause a lot of metabolic damage and insulin resistance in people because we're not meant to be eating all of the time like that. And then you're just hungry all of the time. Humans through evolution ate 1 to 2 times a day. Farmers for 1,000 years would eat in the morning. They would go out in the field all day and then they would come home and eat dinner. Um, Many of us, it depends how old you are in here. Like my generation, if I went to a friend's house after dinner, they're like, kitchen's closed. Kitchen's closed. Like you didn't keep eating. Now there's like, it's like if you don't have a protein bar in your purse, there's something wrong because you have to have a snack with you, right? Like everywhere. And then kids have after school snacks, and then they have party snacks and snacks and snacks and snacks, and then eat dinner, and then you need something after dinner. That all of that constant eating will walk you towards chronic illness, metabolic health issues.
Where do you think fasting fits into that?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. Um, Something that I really want to caveat is, from having worked with so many complex health conditions, what I'm saying is a generalization and not meant for everybody.
Right.
If you meet any nutritionist that says this thing is the way it is, no matter what, it's the only thing, they are not somebody you want to be working with because every human body's bio-individual.
Mm.
Um, so let's say somebody's body is in a healthy state for fasting. When our body's in a non-fed state, it can actually repair. We're not meant to be eating all of the time. So our hormones reset, our gut can repair. Um, if you do a longer fast, somewhere after 24 hours, 36 hours, a process called autophagy starts happening. It's called autophagy, self-eating. So we have a cancer clearing system in our body where in a fasted state, our body goes around and finds dead sick cells, mitochondria that have gone rogue, and it literally eats them up and disposes of them, cleans our body. Fasting can be a great tool for people. Now, if somebody is like, hey, I'm going to fast, I can't figure out why I'm not losing weight, I'm doing this 16-hour fast, 14-hour fast. But if they're still eating too much, the body's not necessarily going to lose weight, but they can be fixing metabolic issues by doing it. So there's a lot of health benefit from doing it.
Cool. I know the most I've done was 100 hours, and that was pretty easy relatively. Breaking it wasn't as fun, but it was fun to do it. Yeah.
Why was breaking it not as fun?
Oh, just I was pretty sick. Like bathroom. Yeah. I mean, not like really, but yeah, I mean, it just like my body was not good to process for a day or so. I was like, this is not staying in your body. This is going through you. But I knew I had to break it because I was going on a trip, and I'm like, I can't do this on the trip. But like, I was good to go. I didn't feel like I don't know, I was just able to keep going. And it was really fun. So that's cool. So that's a good thing to do every so often. It also saves you a bunch of money because you don't have to buy any groceries. That's something else that I've told people. I'm like, if you're having a hard time affording groceries, just fast because it saves you a bunch of money. Totally different ballgame. I know we could go on forever, but keeping an eye on the time. I always have 3 final questions that I ask before we wrap up, and then anything that we didn't touch on that you just think we really needed to touch on. So first and final question is, if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence that you could say that could help them find it?
Oh, that's a great question. Take pen to paper and let your higher self guide you.
That's good.
Because
I
your
like
ego
that.
will say one thing, but your higher self will like, oh, yeah.
I love it. Number two, and I'm sure you have more than one, but what's one favorite quote and why?
Uh, just the first thing that came to mind is it doesn't matter how many times you've tried, this time can be different.
Mm, that's awesome. And third and final question, what word or sentence you want on your gravestone?
Here lies a good human.
Like that. So you run into someone in a coffee shop, they're like, Courtney, that was amazing. I've got to work on this whole sugar thing and eat more dirt and all the stuff we talked about. What's something that we didn't touch on that you think we should have touched on that's be really impactful for our listeners?
Um, what I want most for them is hope that whether it's mental health stuff or struggling with weight loss or having a condition, um, the possibility that they can end up in a better place is insanely high. And what they need to do is if they're around people who are telling them like, "Oh, this is the way things are," they need to keep seeking till they find somebody that says, "I see you, I've been there, and you can get better." And when somebody can carry a torch like that for you, what is possible is mind-blowing. So don't settle if you're hurting in any area of your life, even finances or anything. Everything can get better. Yeah.
That's cool. I love it. Guys, reach out if you have any questions. I know Courtney I can tell she's amazing. She'll be able to help you in a lot of different areas. I'm excited to learn more. I will get the name of those books and I'll put them in the show notes, especially the first one she recommended. I'll make sure to get that proper spelling and all that stuff. We'll get it in the show notes. Everything else will be there. Guys, make sure let's go out there. Let's share this. Let's help a bunch of people with mental issues, health issues, or ones that don't want to have those issues. And share this. So let's go out there. Let's change the world one starfish or one person at a time. If we can change one life at a time together, we can change the world. Thanks for being on.